We're on day 81 of the volatile conflict in West Asia, and despite an uneasy, unilaterally extended U.S. ceasefire keeping planned military strikes on ice, the geopolitical landscape remains incredibly tense. Tehran continues to talk tough, signaling that while it is open to dialogue, it is by no means ready to surrender. Instead, Iran appears to be digging in and flexing its geographic muscles, turning the strategic Strait of Hormuz into a major point of economic leverage. The most striking development is the newly unveiled Hormuz Safe Initiative, a bold, state-backed and highly controversial Bitcoin-settled maritime insurance scheme designed to bypass Western sanctions and formalize economic control over one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. To unpack this, I'm joined by Cheta Nwanze, partner, SBM Intelligence. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you, too. This is day one, as you already know, and the rhetoric seems to be the same, if you ask me. But for you, what has clearly changed since the U.S. unilaterally extended a ceasefire?
Not much since the last time I was in the studio. It's becoming very clear to everyone who observed that this has been a strategic defeat for the U.S. And the Iranians are basically ensuring that everybody knows that they have the leverage to keep this going for as long as possible. Just yesterday, the Americans extended the ceasefire again, unilaterally, although Trump claims that it is the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia that asked him to. Such claims only further strengthen the Iranian position, because it shows very clearly that its regional neighbors no longer have confidence in the ability of the Americans to protect them.
Right. Now, for some, Iran might as well be described as the clear winner for not losing, but, rather becoming brazenly emboldened and discovering its superpowers are in the streets. I don't know what you think about that, but talk to us about your
that's what I said from when I was in the studio with you twice, and I said this was a strategic mistake. So, it was always clear that tactically the Americans would defeat the Iranians. There was no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, war is politics by other means. That's geopolitics 101. And it's about your objectives. Do you achieve your objectives? So what are the American objectives? Basically to knock Iran off the table. What are the Iranian objectives? Basically to survive. And they've achieved that, one. And to add to that, they've now become a sort of regional hegemon, in the sense that everybody now understands that they will not be bullied, and you have to deal with Iran at one form or the other.
Right. So talk to us. What do you make of the Hormuz Safe Initiative?
It's basically Iran saying, see, you have cost us this much, not just in terms of blood, but also in terms of treasure. You've cost us this much in terms of infrastructure. So you are going to pay us in order to use this piece of water, this channel of water, which used to be open before this war started. Essentially, for me, I'm not going to look just at this particular conflict, or this particular region. I would look at the wider implications of that. If the Hormuz Strait Initiative goes, it becomes de jure rather than just de facto, you will find that other places where there's freedom of navigation, the Strait of Malacca, for example, people will begin to say, oh, this is our territorial waters. You come at Owoda. Essentially, that's what the Iranians have said. The Iranians have essentially said Owoda. And other people will be looking, if it stands, if it becomes the normal thing, then other people are going to do it. So you have other global trading choke points. The Egyptians already collected toll from the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, so we can't even add that to it. But the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Malacca, Bahr el-Shabab, and then the Panama Canal are likely to become toll booths, and that will raise costs of transportation all over the world. As it is already, tankers that are usually worth about $100 million are already paying up to $1 million per single voyage as a war risk premium. That will only go up, and it will become the new normal. Ultimately, what always happens whenever there's a new normal the people who are involved in trade pass the costs on to consumers.
And that's something we really do not want to experience. We can already tell the impact. We can already tell what's happening to prices, crude oil prices. And of course, that trickles down to petroleum products and some other things. Aviation here in Nigeria, I mean, it's a story you don't even want to get into. But should we really be concerned that there has been no deal yet? Does that bother you?
It bothers me because the longer this takes, the longer it takes for the global economy to recover. But at the same time, I also understand that it's a very hard pill for the American establishment to swallow. Just last week, Robert Kagan, who is one of the, on the conservative side of the American ledger, he's one of the what you call war hawks. He actually admitted that America has been defeated strategically. So that shows that there's movement within the American establishment. But it will take some time before many of them accept. And you see, the difference between now and Vietnam was 50 years ago, or Afghanistan 10 years ago, is that this particular defeat for the Americans is happening in the age of social media. It's very open and very clear for everybody to see. That's a humiliation that that America, being the global hegemon, will find very difficult to accept. So it takes time. It will take time. So the real question is, how much time will it take for them to accept this reality on the ground? But the moment they accept that reality, then things will begin to move.
All right, let's close with this. Talk to us about the impacts of this, on global markets and all.
So, I mean, the impact, I would prefer to focus on Nigeria, but the impacts can be seen. So, for example, right now I'm sitting in England, and the impact has been clear on cost of living. It's also clear on cost of living in Nigeria. The last time I was in the studio with you, which was 4 weeks ago, we talked about the survey that SBM Intelligence conducted, which showed that 83% of the traders that we surveyed blamed the war for price increases. Since that time, we have published our Jollof Index, which tracks food inflation, and again, the impact of the war showed. So the price of jollof rice for a family of 5 rose by about 19% in the period. This thing is being reflected not just in Nigeria, but in a lot of other countries. Basically, the war in Iran has hit people's pockets very, very directly. I mean, I'm currently wearing this thick sweater. Why? Because it's cold. It's still cold. Last week, the temperatures hit 1 degree Celsius. So people are still using gas at the time that gas prices have gone up by 14%. So essentially, everything is affected by this. And what scares me personally is the fact that 60% or so, a very ridiculous amount of the world's fertilizer also passes through the Strait of Hormuz. So we haven't even begun to see the impact. When that's fertilizer shortage, so in Sri Lanka, there has already been a complaint by up to 30% of their farmers that they've been unable to plant because of no fertilizer. If 30% of farmers are unable to plant, that means a 30% shortfall in food production. That's a problem for everybody. And when there's a shortage of food, social unrest is not too far behind.
Absolutely. And of course, the UN has actually warned about that, saying about 45 million people, more people would, be affected by hunger as a result of this if the Strait of Hormuz is not open to fertilizer passage. Thank you so much, Cheta Nwanze, for gracing the show and sharing your thoughts with us today.